The number plate on this bike gave me an angle for the report. In my world, a current affair is a half-hour TV broadcast of human interest news. It's promoted under the acronym ACA. Well, Harley-Davidson's VRSCDX Night Rod Special in Ember Red Sunglow, registration number ACA-00, proved to be a current affair on a number of levels. Not only did I become rather attached to the machine emotionally, I'm going to try giving one back after a 2-week test, but also this is a very current motorcycle. This is the bike to point at when you encounter those old codgers that say Harley only makes old-fashioned bikes or moan about outdated technology. No, this one is thoroughly modern, Bruce. As current as any of the metric cruisers, in fact, and as the price tag would warrant, in some departments it's ahead. As I was riding it back to base, I immediately noted 2 improvements over the last VSRCs I rode. The sound from the straight shot exhausts and the smoothness of the EFI. Both were now significantly better. The following 2 weeks confirmed that the 2013 edition is a bike much more in the performance mould of the 2005 Street Rod. And yes, I know I've been banging on about best Harley ever and the Street Rod in the same sentence since the day I rode one. The Street Rod is not quite back in the guise of the Night Rod Special. The 240 section rear end adds a few provisos to that accord, but it's a long way down the road. It was the second or third time out on the bike. I was just bedding in with it. A perfect night for an excursion. Fine, calm and warm, early in the week with little traffic. I hit one of those downhill 270-degree corkscrew freeway off-ramps. It presented a reliable surface, proper camber, good visibility, and the Night Rod simply nailed it. It's beautifully balanced, steady, neutral steering, and the tip of one finger operates some of the nicest Brembo front brakes I've ever used. All the while cranked over, kissing the near side mirror, and the hero peg making the slightest of contacts with the tarmac. Hello, I said to myself at the time. Actually, I said, but this is really nice. But that doesn't fit the story. Maybe it was just the power of suggestion that saw a lot of nocturnal activity. But it's more likely that the quiet of night and the big city in a vehicle that delights in being taken for a skid in the urban environment. It's as happy sitting at low speeds in top gear as it is carving up a freeway, or just sitting back and rumbling along the waterfront trying to catch a reflected glimpse of how long and low and how damn cool it looks. It's a great looking bike. The paint is superb, the finish with the polished metal highlights also mimicked in the paint, and the overall line of the machine just worked for me. It's a real skidder. That word skid is a term I used a lot around the bike. Not that I locked up those ABS Brembos at all, even though I tried diligently. But you won't be pulling any radical stoppies on this one either. Conversely, the next time that bloke at the bar gives you a sermon on Harley brakes, point at these ABS stoppers. You can't call them anything but superb. The skidder thing comes from the overall lowness of the bike. Built so close to the ground it adds to the fun. It's narrow enough to squeeze through the traffic and nimble and well balanced enough to make it quite pleasurable. I even managed a few commuter runs and it dealt with the stop-start just fine. There's lots of thumbs up from the hot car and big truck crowds at the traffic lights as well. Nice bike, mate. Anyway, away from the lights and pinning the throttle on the liquid-cooled Revolution 60-degree V-twin with overhead cam and 4 valves per cylinder causes things to happen rather quickly. The official Harley info kit doesn't specify a maximum horsepower output, but it's not hard to find an unofficial 120 ponies quoted in sources. pushing a dry weight of 289 kilograms, spool it up, and it happens. Harley does claim 111 Newton meters of torque at 7,250 RPM. I only saw that sort of number on the rev counter occasionally. If you're pulling 7 grand on this thing regularly, you probably don't have a whole lot of demerit points left in the bank. This is a genuine performance cruiser right out of the box. It has a great looking rear end. I tried several times in capturing photos just how rakish the rear quarter of the bike is, and failed. It's just one of those jobs that looks better in the flesh. We all know it's a big part of the cruiser look. The 240/40R-18 Michelin Scorcher tyre is fat. In the dry and on good surfaces, it really surprised me. The balance of the whole unit on the aforementioned off-ramp was notable. There was little need to ride around the fat back wheel. Introduce a bit of moisture and some debris on the road and it's a typical 240 section. You wouldn't call it skittish, it's just not as sure-footed as the 180 would be. The trade-off is in the looks and how it makes you feel when you walk into the shed and cast a gaze upon it. It's very easy on the eye all round. Co-pilot glanced at the standard pillion accommodation and kept walking. This one, in standard form anyway, was a solo pleasure. I did the standard local day rides up to the mountains and the dams and enjoyed all of that too. On the open road it's a firm ride typical of the breed. There are 74mm of travel available from the preload adjustable rear shocks, and the overall cornering clearance is actually good for a cruiser. But, like the suspension, it's still cruiser. Giving it the business on exits is a real hoot, however. The front end is very tidy. The upside down forks add something of a sports look around the split 5-spoke wheel and twin rotors. The 34-degree rake is all cruiser though, and the front mudguard doesn't work very well. It looks really good and is entirely in style, but containing wheel spray is not its strong point. Where the bike's real element is pinging down the main road and the city streets and taking back the midnight hour. I cruised a ton of freeway and became something of a creature of the Brisbane night, riding around searching for the photo opportunity. I loved it. I didn't use the entire range of performance tech on the bike. It has a slipper clutch, apparently. I didn't feel it come into play. It has a 5-speed gearbox, and the clutch and the whole drivetrain did exactly what I thought it should throughout. A joy to operate. I did use quite a few tankfuls of the 18.9 litre under-seat fuel cell. Harley claims 6.3 litres per 100 kilometres. Unfortunately, I'm not built like their test rider, Twiggy, and didn't get those figures exactly. It was also because on more than one occasion I might have actually gone looking for that maximum torque. I found the bike surprisingly comfortable and big man friendly, particularly in light of the 675mm seat height. The taller gentleman will find that the wider handlebars than those fitted on the older models make for quite a roomy perch. The shorter of stature will find the 675mm pretty easy to live with too. Easy to live with. That's a great way to sum up the Night Rod special. It was even pretty easy to keep clean. If you're in the market for a power cruiser, there's a tasty American option available too. It's a great looking, pretty versatile modern bike that proved very easy on the eye and very easy to live with, unlike that TV show.